Good evening, Dr. Rampersad.
Hi.
Hi, and welcome. Let me thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the Observer, on Gayelle TV, of course, Facebook, YouTube, Amplia, and Flow. I want to thank you so much for taking time out, and welcome to the program.
Is it live on Gayelle right now?
Yes, we are live right now. We are live.
What channel is
And
Gayelle?
you can check 107 on Flow and
Yeah.
also 107 on Amplia.
Okay, I'm on 107 on Flow.
All right.
I'll keep the volume down.
Okay, no problem. I want to thank you again. Quite recently on Monday, at the Monday Night Report, the UNC Monday Night Report, the opposition leader, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, made it quite clear that the UNC will contest all 41 seats in the next general election. She said, of course, the party says nominations for that election will be open by mid-December this year. Some are saying it's quite an early move, and others are saying, however, it may be a strategy to get people on the ground early enough so that they can be recognized by the electorate and have a clear idea of who the individuals are that will be supposedly representing them in the future. What say you?
I say it's always better to be prepared and ready to go than to be caught with your pants down.
By saying that, I want to put you on the spot here. Do you think, or should we expect a snap election?
Well, if there is going to be a snap election, I think the government will know that before the opposition, right? Because they're the ones to call a snap election. I think she is just getting ready so that she can spend 2024 grooming her candidates, selecting candidates, grooming them, and getting the MPs ready for the election, which is, constitutionally due in 2025. It's almost 2 years, the elections, because the last election was in September 2020.
Right.
So the next election can go until, I believe, September, if not 3 months after, 2025.
All right.
So it's 2 years. They have 2 years. I think she took everybody by surprise. Certainly would make some headlines with that statement, but I also think it is a move to get the party in a state of readiness, even if there is no snap election, but to be totally ready to rumble in 2025.
Yeah. I think what stood out as well is the fact that she mentioned to contest all 41 seats. And of course, history has shown that the UNC has not contested the two Tobago seats, has always depended on a political accommodation with parties other than the PNM. What would you take from that message?
Well, when she said the UNC would contest all 41, it may be an UNC alliance, because she's already forged an alliance with the NTA, with Gary Griffith, who is there with them. Now, I don't know if he is going to go full UNC and relinquish altogether the NTA, or whether he's going to hold the alliance and continue to be the leader, the NTA, continue to be the leader of the NTA, and forge an alliance, an accommodation, an arrangement, a pre-election arrangement, and possibly a post-election coalition. So that we want to see, and whether NTA, as in the local government election, will be contesting some of those seats with the UNC as an alliance.
Yeah.
So she said they will be contesting all. She didn't say whether they will be contesting all alone.
Okay, as far as just under the UNC umbrella. So,
right.
But basically she's covering all tracks there. Also mentioned, of course, in the last government election, taking us back, local government election, there were 31 less seats running on a UNC ticket than the PNM, but the UNC got 43,000 more votes. And also looking at that in some of the marginals, some of the areas, of course, that have been deemed marginal, and by doing the math as the case may be, is saying that there seems to be that the UNC may be on good footing moving forward. What say you when you start to put all these factors together?
Well, one of the things we always need to look at is the boundaries and whether the boundaries are going to move. And when I say the boundaries are going to move, we've been seeing electorates being moved from one constituency to the next, legitimately so. But, the UNC not questioning the rationale enough as far as I'm concerned. For example, electors being moved from San Fernando East to San Fernando West on the ground that San Fernando East had too many and San Fernando West too little. And I don't know where the survey and the census is to, prove that, which is the UNC, the onus is on UNC to question those things. So what we see for the election, the local government election, even the last general in 2020, is a map full of yellow, and yet the PNM win in the general and the PNM tie in the local. So it suggests to me that there is some issue with the way the boundaries themselves are drawn, and this is traditional drawing of the boundaries and the way that the electors themselves are moved. So the popular vote going to the opposition and UNC and combined, sometimes they get in plenty more votes, and when I say combined opposition, all the other opposition parties than the PNM, making the PNM a minority party because they're not winning the majority of votes. These extra votes have to be adequately distributed in the marginal constituencies which the UNC wants to win. Because if you're getting a whole ton of votes in St. Augustine and Caroni East and Caroni Central and Couva North and Couva South, which are safe seats, it wouldn't help you. You need to win. The UNC needs to win San Fernando West, St. Joseph, Tunapuna, hold on to Sawa Barataria, hold on to Moruga, try and get La Hoketa, which people thought they were going to get in 2020, but it didn't happen. So Arima, some of those that they have held under the NER.
Yeah. Also Toko Sandy Grande.
Right, and they got some in the partnership. 29, the partnership got. They got some of those seats that the PNM tend to hold on to. So they have work to do in these marginals. They also need to have a presence in the north, and the north people complain that they don't see the UNC enough. You see them once or twice during a campaign, and that is not good enough. Because while the safe seats you cannot neglect and you cannot take them for granted because that's your base, the party, and any party, whether it's the PNM or the UNC, you also have to mobilize the other seats that you don't have support. Now, they do get the popular vote, but our system is not proportional representation. Our system is first past the post. Winner takes it all. So even though you have more votes, you have no power. Because that doesn't do anything for you except to give you the prestige of getting more votes. But in terms of real hardcore power, you don't have it. The winning party, winner takes it all, can hold the power.
And let me ask you, in 2010, of course, ushered in the People's Partnership into government, and there was a different dynamics, local political dynamics. That in itself cannot be recaptured in all reality. Does it now boil on to, as far as the new dynamics would have to be the candidates itself, strong, presentable candidates?
Well, every election has new dynamics. 2010 was a wave. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, so 2010 was a wave. 1986 was a wave. Okay, 1986 was the first victory against the PNM ever. It was the first defeat of the PNM in our history since 1956, 30 years unbroken, the PNM ruled. 2010 was a similar wave, and there were interesting dynamics. You had two elderly statesmen there, Mr. Pandey and Mr. Manning. There was disillusionment. There was allegations of corruption. All kinds of dynamics were at play. I had presented something on Kamlamania and meningitis. Those were two forces, or defiant forces, which I said were also contributing to that wave. The question is now, what will generate a wave? And it has to be present sufficiently enough to get enough people out against a ruling party to generate a wave in favor of an opposition, whoever they may be. So we have negative forces at play. For example, the crime situation, which I don't think in my entire life it has ever reached this level. I don't know about you, but in my entire life, as I survey and I look back in my history, I have never seen the crime reach this level where bandits are just walking to the house, even without mask, and gunning people down and taking what they want. I don't think I have ever seen that. That That is a phenomenon. It's a negative one, but it can be a dynamic that can play in a general election. And that card she was actually playing in the local with light them up and all that,
Yeah.
all that rhetoric, that kind of anti-crime rhetoric, or what you want to call it.
I want to go back to the point that you made earlier, of course, talking about the work that needs to be done, especially in the marginals. But in all of that, we can't omit the factor of the EBC. And many people, of course, have shown that they don't have that confidence in the EBC. And that in itself is a complicated factor, because how much control do you have to ask for transparency where you think that you're not getting it?
Well, there's always the court. There is a point at which you can take things to court. There's a point at which you can't. So certain matters cannot go beyond the Court of Appeal. It cannot go to the Privy Council. And certain matters can. Certain election matters I am talking about. So there are restrictions. But if the EBC is erring, if the EBC is not acting ethically, transparently, and with integrity, there are actions that can be taken against the EBC as well. The problem is finding the evidence. So they have to bring evidence. Whenever you bring a matter legally, you have to have evidence. You just can't do that. So there are a lot of disgruntlement with the EBC. There are a lot of suspicions surrounding the activities of the EBC. There are a lot of allegations of EBC being partial, not being neutral as it should be. And over the decades, we've had those allegations. It does put the party that is making these allegations in a very precarious situation, because while they are allegations, they have to come with evidence. And it is the evidence which is going to prove that the allegations are true.
Yeah.
So it's a ticklish one when it comes to the EBC, which is supposed to be an independent body.
Yeah.
But I always have this thing about independent bodies in Trinidad, because you look at the election of a president, the ruling party always gets its way because they have the majority in the electoral college. That is the Senate and the MPs and whatnot who vote. The ruling party always get their way. You look at the election of a speaker who is supposed to be independent, the Speaker of the House. The ruling party gets to select the speaker. So the EBC, is supposed to be independent, but it is appointed, I think it comes
of course. And as well, if you look at the language that was used by the opposition leader on Monday, she said that the party is looking for candidates for the general elections whenever it is called. She issued a challenge to the public, and she said, if you name man or woman, you are free to put your nomination in. Was that a bit, cheeky in the sense of, so many people have been calling for her to perhaps step aside, and this is the time that she is saying, listen, I'm preparing, I'm moving forward, but if you think that you're bigger than what needs to be done, come forward. And put your hat in the ring, because we are hearing reports that former Minister Vasan Barrett was present at this very said Monday night report, and that he may be putting his hat in the ring. What say you about the language on that night?
Well, I'm trying to understand hat in which ring, because if it is an internal election to challenge her, is it an internal election to challenge her? Because if you're challenging her, then I can understand that. Come, if you want to lead the UNC, if you think I'm not good enough, if you're calling for me to go, then put your hand in the ring, come and challenge me in an internal election and take control. She's had the internal elections, she's won.
Right.
Okay, and she's won handsomely, she's won significantly.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know which hat in which ring. Now, if it is, I think she was calling for MPs for all the constituencies, right. which means that she's probably countering, and I'm venturing a guess here, that she's probably countering the criticisms against some of her candidates or some others within the party. Maybe there is some disgruntlement within the party with some of her MPs. And so she's telling them, well, if you want to come and challenge them, then feel free to do so. But again, that challenge cannot come until you are selected. You have to be selected by the selection committee of the UNC, who will be selecting the MPs, right? And then they have to go out there and win those seats. And I have to tell you that those marginal constituencies are not so easy to win.
Right. And of course, final question from me. I mean, you've seen Jack Warner come back into the fold. Others, we're hearing names like Fuad Khan and what have you. Do you think that much consideration will be given? I mean, in the fact that you have people who are present saying, listen, I've been in the trenches. I have been here for the good times and the bad times. I simply do not want to be overlooked. Do you see that causing any sort of conflict as far as getting this entire thing prepared for?
Well, it's good that she's starting early and to deal with some of these things. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong, I think, in bringing back some of the old heads. People like Fuad Khan and Jack Warner, Tim Gopi Singh, Fazal Karim. These were very, very important. They made a significant contribution to the politics under the partnership. The question is, where do you put them? And what do you want? And are they just wanting to come back to the party, or do they want to come back into some leadership role or to get some seats? Jack Warner, I think, no. I don't think he's interested in fighting any seat. I think he said that in the local. And she also said he did not ask for anything. So I think his presence did assist her in San Fernando, particularly in train line there back of the area there, and she did pick up some local government seats there. So I think that worked. Mr. Fuad Khan, they're among UNC supporters. Some of them said he's a loose cannon. Some of them said he talks too much. But I think he also brought had some contribution to make to the party. So I think extending the olive branch to everybody, including Basan Bharat and all of those who left, is fine. The problem is when they get there, is it jostle for positions which are limited. There are limited number of seats. There are 41 seats, right? And some of them specify which seat they want. They want safe seats. And it's limited, even more limited number of safe seats. So this is where the fallout come back. So they come and they apply for a seat, and when they don't get it, and they get vexed, and they go and they ill speak her and they ill speak the party. But the numbers, the limited numbers, you just can't give everybody. After you win an election, there may be other posts you can give to people who assist and whatnot. But in terms of a seat as a member of parliament, as a member of the House of Representatives, to get a seat to fight and to get a seat you want to fight is not always so easy. And with that, you will also want loyalists. I believe that the two important factors, two important features in selecting leaders. One is you want them to be loyal, but that should not trump efficiency on your capacity to perform. I think you should have both.
Thank you. Dr. Rampersad, I want to thank you so much for taking time out with us this evening. It has definitely been a pleasure, very insightful, and we will be checking in with you periodically. And again, thank you so much again.
You're most welcome.
Appreciate
have a good
Thank you.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Bye.